Good evening, my friends. Kevin the Comic Doctor coming to you with another live CGC unboxing. Guys, I'm Kevin the Comic Doctor. I'm a comic book presser. I'm also an authorized CGC dealer located way up in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. And every week or so, I come on here and I share with you all the books that are coming back to me from CGC. I have 2 boxes to share with you tonight. I have another 3 boxes to share with you probably tomorrow night, possibly Wednesday. I'm going to aim for tomorrow night as well. And there are more coming back as we speak. As you know, I was on vacation for the last couple of weeks, and there's kind of a backlog now on these. And I want to do these shows because the sooner I do these shows, the sooner these books get back to you. And that's where I want them, in your hands. I don't want them here. I want them in your hands. Guys, today we're also going to talk a little bit about PSA, and out of focus there. And as you know, or as I'm sure you've already heard, PSA is now getting into the grading business for comic books. Now, they've already been in the grading business for a long time. They grade, sports cards. Obviously, is their main, I guess, source of income at that. Is it the main source of income? I think so. They're also well known for authenticating signatures. They grade Funko Pops and VHS tapes and all sorts of different things. They've shied away from the comic book market, but now they're getting into it. We're going to talk a bit about that later on. Guys, if you're new here, again, we talk about all things comic books, fandom, all that sort of things. So if you like that sort of stuff, hey, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It certainly will help with the analytics. And by subscribing, you can also join in the conversation. I know there's some guys here already. They're starting to say hello to me. How you doing, guys? So if you have any questions about comic book collecting or pressing or grading or anything like that, you can ask those questions free of charge, of course, right here on the channel. You can ask me those questions in the chat. And if you're new here, hey, let me know where you're watching from. I love to hear where you are all tuning in from. Okay, so with that, let's get started. First book I have to share with you, again, 2 boxes. And I think some of these are yours, John. I see you're out there. I think some of these are yours for your pre-screen, but I'm not sure which are which exactly. Where's my overhead cam? There it is. And by the way, guys, I am trying to play catch up here. I sent out a whole bunch of invoices before I went on vacation. I have to review those invoices still. I have to review a whole bunch of things. So if you've been asking me to, if you haven't received your invoice or whatever, just give me a couple of days to kind of get settled here. I'm almost ready to start going through those as well. But here we go. All right. So first off, we've got a Hulk 271, the first comic book appearance of Rocket Raccoon. We have a X-Men 130, first appearance of the Dazzler in a 9.0 white pager. We have a 9.2 copy Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic number 9, first full appearance of Revan. We have a 9.8 copy newsstand edition of the first issue of Gargoyles. So Gargoyles number 1, based on the cartoon series. We also have a 9.4 copy of Hulk 449, first appearance of the Thunderbolts. We have a 9.8 copy of Wolverine number 1. My stack is getting high. We got another 9.8 copy of Wolverine 27, another popular Wolverine cover. Right there. Wow, here's a nice one. This is a book you don't see in 9.8 all that often. This one I see this all the time in 9.4, 9.6, but here we got a 9.8. We've got a Marvel Team Up 141, 9.8 white pager. It's one we don't see. Again, hard book to get in a 9.8. Great to see. Great to see. Okay. My stack is kind of high, so I will go over to the chat, see who's here today. And I'll pack these babies up. I'm going to move this up a little bit here. Hold on one sec. Right there. Okay, so Carlo was the first one here. How you doing, Carlo? The doc is back. Yeah, the doc is back, but boy, the doc ain't feeling all that great. Had a couple of rough days there, man. Feel a bit better today. A little bit better. Dave's here. How you doing, Dave? John is again here. Gord is here. Kevin MVP. Hey, Kevin, will you try the new PSA case? Well, yes, of course I will. I'm going to talk a bit about PSA in just a few moments because that really is big news. That was all the news. As soon as I left on July the 17th for vacation, that was announced the next day, the Friday. I was kind of given a hint it was coming, and bang, it happened. And it was all the news everywhere. So yeah, we'll talk about PSA in just a moment. I'll finish the first box, and then we'll talk about the whole PSA thing. What are your thoughts on PSA grading and giving CGC another competitor in this space? I think it's a good thing personally, but again, we'll talk about it in just a few moments. Brian Pulaski's here. How you doing, Brian? Good to see you. Hope to see you on Thursday if it doesn't rain. Sean Connolly's here. How you doing, Sean? Comics with Dan says, I went on vacation during San Diego Comic-Con and felt so behind when I got back. Yeah, so much transpired during that time. It was crazy. Okay, let's keep going here. We got a 9.8 copy of X Factor #1. Book I don't see too often, actually. We also have a 9.8 copy of Daredevil 181. Now, these are pre-screeners here. These are pre-screeners. We've got a Marvel. We have an Uncanny X-Men 244 and a 9.8 as well. We have some JSA authenticated signatures. We have this one here has several signatures on it. We've got Terry Austin, Chris Claremont. Oh, I see. Okay, so this one here had two signature. We sent these in for signature series. So you have the Terry Austin and the Chris Claremont added to a John Byrne signature, which you don't see because John Byrne doesn't really sign very much anymore. But the first two are witnessed, and the last one, John Byrne, was authenticated right there. So that's pretty awesome. Great copy. We also have another one. This one here is signed by Terry Austin and Chris Claremont, and John Byrne's authenticated signatures on the front, on the inside. So you don't see John Byrne's signature on this one. It is on the inside, and that's an 8.5. We have a 9.8 copy of G.I. Joe #1. It's a newsstand copy. Got a 9.6 copy of, now this one might have been a crack, a CPR. I don't remember. It was I think this may have already been a 9.6. I'm not sure. It could have been a 9.4. I had to check my notes. 9.6 copy of Walking Dead #2. And now my stack is high yet again. We put these guys away, and we'll get back to it. Back to the chat. More competition is always good. Yes, and we're going to talk a bit about that in just a minute, Dan. Beautiful Daredevil book it is. Ranger Taurus says, hey, Kevin, I message you on Instagram. Whenever you can get back to me would be appreciated. When did you text me? I usually get back pretty quick. But sometimes what happens on Instagram, honestly, is they put people's messages into a different folder. And sometimes I don't see those for a very long time. But if you just message me like recently, yeah, I haven't been on Instagram much today. So I'll have a look before I go to bed tonight. But if you messaged me a long time ago, I'm going to have to look for it. I can check right now. I've got my phone right here. Let's see. Instagram. There it is. See, I don't see anything on there. Oh, an hour ago. What's your first name? Ranger Taurus. What's your first name? I see one message on there. Could it be you? Ah, that is you. Hey, Carter. How's it going? Yeah, I just saw it. I'll text you back after the show, Carter. Okay? All right, let's keep going here. This one here is from Niagara Falls. This is my book, actually, and they messed this one up. I got to send it back. This one here is Armored number 1, 9.8 white pages, and signed by the writer down here. And I told CGC when I sent it in, they said signed by Jay Lee. It wasn't signed by Jay Lee. It was signed by Mr. Schwartz, the writer, right there. So I'm going to have to send that back to have it changed. Okay, we got some more 9/8s coming our way. Nothing wrong with more 9/8s, right, guys? Punisher number 1 and a 9/8. Battlestar Galactica number 1 from 1979, 9.8. We got a 9.2 copy of X-Men 129, also a newsstand. First Kitty Pryde. We got a beautiful 9/8 copy of Silver Surfer number 1, IG Comic Store version edition. Null cameo on first page. Wow, 9/8, eh? They're pretty generous with that. There you go. We got another 9/8 here. Exact same book in a 9/8. Right there. Whoa, big one. Look at this. 9/8 copy. Star Wars 42. This book was a damn big book a few years ago. Wow, 9/8, 42 right there. Gorgeous copy. And last but not least, another 9/8. Some nice 9/8s in this box. X-Men 141, white pager in a 9.8. Nothing wrong with that, guys. Nothing wrong with that at all. Some nice books in there. We're just getting here now, guys. That was box number 1. I got another box to go through in just a few moments. But first, I am going to talk a little bit about PSA. And I wouldn't mind your feedback, too, on this, because this is pretty big news. Now, I would say almost 2 years ago, there was talk about PSA joining in the fun. We can go even back further than that. When Beckett's acquired CBCS, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of happy collectors out there thinking that Beckett's was going to infuse a lot of money into the company and give CBCS a fighting chance against CGC. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen. Not much changed over at CBCS. Now, collectors have been really clamoring to get another company out there to give CGC a real run for their money. Not to put CGC out of business, for crying out loud. No, my gosh, no. But a company to, when there's two companies vying for your dollar, each company is going to try a little harder, you hope, to give the customer a little more, to really make sure the customer is satisfied and what have you. Anyways, CBCS kind of failed in that regard, I'm going to have to say. But now PSA is joining the fray, and everybody's really happy because PSA, they've been around for a very long time. They're a trusted grader of other collectibles. They've been authenticating signatures for a very long time, so the infrastructure is already there. I saw their slabs myself when I was down in San Diego. And I can tell you the slabs they're bulletproof, man. They are really strong. They're reminiscent of the CBCS slab, but even more heavy duty. I was also told that the slabs are UV resistant, which is again a big game changer. A lot of clients have been really asking for that from both CBCS and CGC, and I'm surprised CBCS didn't just do that naturally to kind of have a one-up on CGC. They didn't bother. Well, now PSA's slab apparently is UV resistant as well. This is good in a variety of different ways. Again, when there's more people in this, more companies offering this service, you're hoping that both companies are going to raise their game in terms of customer satisfaction, product and price as well too. If PSA comes out and their price is half the price of CGC, which it won't be, but if it were, that's going to be a big deal, and CGC is going to have to figure things out. I don't think PSA is going to come in much cheaper than CGC. Maybe to get started they might, but I don't think it's going to be much cheaper in that regard. So yeah, I'm very happy about this. Does it mean I'm going to stop doing CGC? No, of course not. I've been a CGC dealer now for 10 years. I won't stop with CGC. You know, I'll tell you, if PSA ends up being, if the customer service and the quality control is top notch, hey, could I jump ship? Maybe I would. I don't know. For any dealer could tell you, whether it's myself or Carlos out in Gotham Central or any dealer for that matter. You know, the more companies you're dealing with, the more work it is. So, you know, sending your books to 2 or 3 different companies can be a little daunting. But you know what? I will continue to offer CGC, obviously. My concern with the PSA, like I said, I think last week, was their slabs are significantly heavier than CGC. So I worry that the shipping costs might be a little more. That is an obvious concern. What else could I say? As far as Canadians go, and I spoke to them when I was there. I said, listen, I talked to the one fellow that was working there, and I gave him my 2 cents worth as a Canadian dealer. I said, listen, both CBCS and CGC have touted, Canadian, submission centers, blah, blah, blah. The books are still going south of the border. And as a Canadian, it'd be nice if there was a facility within Canada that the books could be sent to for grading. Never mind, having to ship them over the border. It's a pain in the ass. But to keep them, for my Canadian clients, to keep them within Canada would be, my gosh, a game changer. And I really do believe that if given the choice, most Canadian collectors would give PSA a shot, knowing their books are going to Toronto or say Winnipeg or Calgary or wherever. It's not going south of the border. Not to say I have a lot of American clients, and I have no problem sending books down south. I've become quite good at it. But for my Canadian clients, it becomes a little onerous, a little expensive, and to be even beyond the cost, it becomes a little scary. Once your books leave the country and they're down south, it could be a little I wouldn't say terrifying, but you're on edge because the books are not in the country anymore. I guess the same could be said for my American clients sending their books to me, but the difference is when you're sending your books to me, they're coming to me. I don't have 200, 300 employees. The books are in one of 2 places. I'm easy to get a hold of, that sort of thing, right? When you're sending your stuff to a corporation where you are a number, it could be kind of scary. So I think for Canadian collectors, if PSA were to have a division up here north of the border, I think that would suit them very well. I think they would corner the market in Canada. I really do believe that most Canadians, hey, I'm asking you Canadians out there, would you send your books to a company? I've had people tell me if CBCS was actually in Canada, they would send their books to them. That's how strong many Canadians feel about it. But let's see what you guys have to say about that. Chat window, where'd you go? Where'd my chat window go? Oh, there it is. Sorry, guys. Lost my chat window there. There we go. Peter, CGC attention to detail and quality control. I know. I'm looking at books today and I'm like, what's going on here? And the consistency of the grading is really an issue. That like every few months we have an issue with CGC, whether it's quality control with the slabs, whether it's problems with labels being misidentified, whether it be debris inside, whether the books are coming cracked. There always seems to be something. Right now with CGC, from what I can tell, what I'm seeing is I'm noticing a lot of the books don't look that great in the slab right now. They're coming back all dented and dinged, and it's really quite obvious and problematic. That's a real problem. Canada Connect, Warren says, late to the party. Hello, how you doing, Warren? Good to see you. Peter says, welcome PSA as competition should be help both for clients and to improve CGC. Still will likely be 2 years to assess PSA and impact on grading. That is interesting. So, yeah. And to go one step beyond that, Peter, is how much are PSA books going to garner the same kind of money that CGC books get? That's the thing. If a PSA graded comic brings in the same money as a CGC graded comic, then it's par, right? It's around par. But if these new slabs are getting, like, say, 25% less than a CGC of the same book and same grade, yeah, then we have a problem. Then there's a problem. So it may take time for them to enter the market and to prove themselves. Hey, the same thing can be said about cards, right? If you've got sports cards, you can send your sports cards to CGC. I've sent many sports cards to CGC for clients, but anybody who's into cards, like sports cards, say, if you're going to have a sports card graded, a hockey card or baseball card or basketball card, it's either PSA or Beckett's. Those are the two companies that most collectors of that stuff want. Now, if you've got comic related cards, or Pokemon cards, or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, a lot of people actually have no problem with CGC and feel quite happy and content to send them to CGC. So, CGC has only been offering the card service for a couple of years now. It may take them a little bit longer to gain the trust of those sports card collectors. I don't know. I guess the auctions and results we'll have to find out as time goes on. Warren says, but what about the value of the book of those that sell? There we go. Will they be valued the same or possibly higher being PSA? Now, hey, listen, if these new comics being graded by PSA are being auctioned off at a higher value than CGC, then oh boy, CGC would be in trouble there. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, you never know. Dannon says, not sure if it's confirmed, but I saw a rumor that PSA will have two case options, the one they unveiled and a light option. Intriguing. Either way, I hope it will push CGC to step up their quality. Yeah, they told me the one that they have is not the one they're going to use for comics. There's a heavy duty one and a light duty one or something like that. All I can say is I saw the heavy duty one. It's a little bit bigger. If you've got a slab like this, they will not fit. Theirs is probably another half an inch wider. So, and most collectors who've seen them do not like them. And hey, because are they going to fit in our CGC boxes? Sorry, in our slab boxes? Are they going to fit in those BCW plastic bins that everyone seems to like? So PSA needs to look at what the collectors currently are using and kind of fit the bill for that. You don't want to be offering, and also, having that extra plastic, it adds to the weight as well too. And weight is going to be an issue because these are going to be, 25 of those babies you're probably going to be, for 25 CGC comics, you probably get 15 of those for the similar weight. So the shipping is going to go up. So that's an issue. But do not mind that, because the guy I was talking to said they were testing these slabs out, and they dropped the PSA slab from a first story onto concrete. Little chip on the bottom. The comic was fine on the inside. And as Dannon can attest to, he's at my shop on Saturday. Lots of movement with these inner wells. The PSA ones, solid as a rock. I can tell you right now. What I saw, those babies did not move. Carlos says, I'm definitely going to use PSA, working on both sides of the collecting market. I think it'll make easier to bridge the two sides. I agree. Brian says, PSA Canada would be awesome. PSA Canada would be, honestly, for Canadian comic book collectors, a game changer. CGC has never committed to doing that. CBCS has never committed to doing that. The most we got from CBCS was a now defunct drop-off location in Oakville, Ontario, where your books were held hostage during COVID. And CGC's closest option would be to use Grosvenor, where you can go to Grosvenor in Brampton, I think is where they're located, and drop off your books there. But again, the books are not staying in Canada; they're being shipped down to Sarasota. And I also heard that Grosvenor is slow to get your books down there. You know, your books aren't being delivered and shipped out the next day or the next week. It depends on how big. Any of these shipping companies, they're not going to ship your books out by themselves. They're going to ship your books out when there's a large quantity of books to ship. It makes sense, right? That's how they can do it so economically. They wait till they have a big, massive amount of books, and then they send a pallet down. They're not going to send a small box of books. Now, someone like me, as soon as I get about, hey, I'll send 50 books down to CGC. Usually I send between 80 and 120 books a week to CGC. So I'm sending constantly. Sometimes I do 200 every 2 weeks. You know, like last few weeks I've been doing that because of my vacations and my surgeries and all that. But generally speaking, when things are moving normally, I send a box every week and a half, about between 80 and 150, 120 books, something like that. So there's not much wait. Once the books are done, they go. And you want that. You don't want to have your books pressed and cleaned and then sitting in a uncontrolled environment for a month before they ship down to CGC. That would be not ideal. Anyways, Nikki Blaze, how you doing, man? I hear PSA slabs are much bigger, not same dimension to CGC and CBCS. This is an issue for me for storage. Yes, and I mentioned that as well. They are a little wider than CGC and CBCS slabs. Again, these are prototypes from what I've been told. They are going to be adjusting that. You know, they are taking in suggestions right now. I would imagine there's a website or an email you can contact over at the San Diego Comic-Con. They're asking people to write reviews, I guess you could say, of their slabs and things they want to see changed. And one of the big things was, Nikki Blaze, the size was not in accordance to what we collectors have been accustomed to. And again, we have boxes and bins, custom made sometimes to fit our slabs. The last thing we want to do now is have slabs that are bigger and won't fit into our various boxes and storage containers that we have either have purchased, ready-made, or built. Right now, people also complained about the actual label. To me, I could care less. I'll tell you, as long as the book is safe and it's in there safely and you got your UV protection on there and the label's easy to read and it's accurate grading, I'm okay. It doesn't need to be fancy for me. I know some guys really want everything to match. You know, I would hate to think people would then go and take their CGC slabs and send them to PSA to get reslabbed. I know CGC was hoping people would do that with CBCS slabs and PGX slabs for a long time. In fact, they have that service, a crossover service, where you can send slabs for a different company. They used to do it for a cheaper price. Now there's no discount. But I mean, again, who cares? I mean, when it comes to personally, I could care less about the actual look of the label. PSA's got that simple white label on their cards, and they're now extending that to the comics. Could they change it? Will they change it? I don't know. If enough people complain about it, maybe they will. So personally, I don't care. We got a lot more questions here in comments. Sorry about that. Where am I here? It'd be nice to have the registry PSA uses for comics and cards. Registries are great and everything, Carlo, but I just think they're so inaccurate because people are cracking. They're not sending the labels back, you know. So how accurate are those censuses? Sensi. I don't know how you would even say that. Like, how accurate are they? I mean, keeping track of the labels, I guess, would be a good thing. I'm sure they'll have something like that. Sellers might go with PSA as well, as they have the vault thing with eBay, and comics will be eligible. Sellers, do they with eBay? Oh, I see. Okay. I know that CGC has some kind of vault thing as well, too. I saw a video online, Warren says, where a card store refused to look at cards by CGC. Yeah, some people, look, there's that snobbery that's out there, you know. This company is not the company, you know. Look, I used to refer to CGC as the Coca-Cola of comic book grading. Well, PSA and Beckett's are the Coca-Cola of sports card grading, and they've established that after years and years and years of being in business. So, you know, it's gonna take time for people to to migrate over to PSA, to try PSA. But you know, when push comes to shove, when a company has had as many scandals as CGC has had in the last year, I think a lot of consumers, a lot of comic book enthusiasts are going to be, you know, at the very least, curious to try out a new company. I'll tell you, I was curious to try out CBCS when they opened up their service, and I used them. Me and Brian, who's on here, were using them quite a bit back in the day. It wasn't until they screwed up that time where I just, and they didn't really make it right, where I finally said enough's enough, and I didn't bother with them anymore, and I never gave them a second chance. You know, and as far as PSA goes, I have the same kind of attitude going in with that. I'll try them. But if their customer service stinks, if they don't give me, I asked about, as a dealer, will I have a customer service rep I can work with, you know, all the time? And he said, yeah, we're working on that as well too. So I don't want to have to go to the same channels that PSA, that say a guy sending 5 cards in a year does. If I'm sending in thousands of books, I want to be treated like I'm sending in thousands of books, not like I'm sending in one book here and one book there. They also need to, I even said this, I said, you need to also be a little bit more vigilant on allowing who is considered a dealer and who is not. Because again, if you go onto the CGC dealer site, most of those guys on there are barely sending any books in. I know for a fact they're not. So why are they dealers? Because if I'm in GTA, like I know I send in a lot of books. I know Carlos sends in a lot of books. I know Paradise sends in a lot of books. I don't know if Paradise does it for anybody else anymore, but they still send in a ton of books. So okay, these guys, they should have dealer accounts. But there are guys sitting in 15, 20 books a month. That's a dealer? There should be a minimum amounts. If you're not sending in, like, say, 200-300 books a month at the very least, then you're not a dealer. That's it. You lose that status. And that way it forces people to use as dealers that are actual dealers, not these guys who are claiming to be dealers and they're not. And they should also make sure we are insured, right? Because I guarantee most of these guys are not insured as well. And that's not a hard thing to ask for, right? I mentioned this before in previous episodes. All I have to do is go to my broker and ask for a proof of insurance, send it off to whichever company to prove to them. My nose is so itchy. I guess I'm going to be kissing a fool later on today. You know, to get that paperwork from my insurance broker to prove that I'm insured. You know, anyways, that's something, little things like that. Sellers might go with PSA as well as they have. Oh, yeah, we mentioned that. Bad Hombre, how you doing, man? I switched to only sending to CGC only when selling books due to the slab damage. Interwell, crushing the books. But if PSA is solid, then I will send books to them for books of my personal collection. Yeah. And I've talked to Mike about this too a lot. He's got his own personal collection. He's hesitant to send his own personal books to CGC because he's seen time and time again how books are being treated and how books appear in the slab. And I would assume now, Bad Hombre, you received a few books back. How are yours looking in the slab? I just went through a whole box. There's a few in there that I'm like, why do they look like this? Because they were not sent like this. So now why do they look almost crinkled? It makes no sense. That is a big problem. Peter G. Kevin, when you were in California, did you hear any news regarding Canada? We are thankfully usually ignored in USA. What do you mean about that, Peter? Like, what do you mean? Like, did anybody ask about us up here? What's happening politically? That sort of thing? Or what do you mean? Like, I'm not sure. I'm curious to know what you mean. Cool Hand Luke, how you doing? Hello from Montreal. How you doing, man? That Ombre says, I have switched my grading strategy for CGC only when selling, as I have too many of my PC book slab damaged. Interwell crushing. If PSA is solid, I will start sending to them. Look, there's no perfect. I've said this before and I'll say it again. You're sending your books off as soon as, look, when your books leave me, they're in as great a condition as it could possibly be. I pack them well. I shrink wrap them. I've explained all this before. But once they leave my hands and FedEx takes them, it's out of my hands, out of my control. I am not traveling with these books down to Sarasota. These books are in the hands of the shipping agents. They're in the hands of customs. They could be opened and inspected. All this stuff can happen. And then they get to CGC, and then they're in the hands of the person receiving them, opening up the box and unpacking it. Then they take the books and they sort them. And they take them out of the bags to look at them, to grade them, obviously. And then from there they go to the person encapsulating them. So the books are going from hands to hand to hand to hand. So Mike, yes, I understand your concern, because I have the exact same concerns. But there's only so much you can do. Even PSA, the same thing's going to happen. Now that being said, the books I saw at PSA, the slabs I saw at PSA, the inner wells looked similar to what CGC uses. They look similar to me, but I can tell you they did not move at all inside the slab, and they look pretty good. But again, I don't think there's ever going to be a 100% guarantee on any of this. As much as we'd like to have it, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Eric says, hello, Eric, right back at you. Carlos says, any magazines today? No, tomorrow. I'll have magazines tomorrow. Peter, in regards to CGC and others not having Canadian operations, no. I explained to the PSA dude, I said to him, actually, Swaggelhoff was right beside me when I said it. I said, listen, at first he kind of didn't pay me any attention. And then Swag kind of got involved and we started talking, and then he started paying me more attention. I said, listen, I go, if you want a guaranteed clientele, put a station, an actual PSA Canada location where books and cards can go to and be graded here. Have a staff up here to grade your comics. Look, I could be talking at my rear end here, guys. I have no idea what the operation costs are, what the human resource side of things are, how many employees you have to have. Then there's also, they have to deal with Canada, Revenue Canada in regards to employees and things. There's all kinds of, to just say do it is very easy to do, but it could be a hell of an undertaking. So I don't know what's involved in all of that. All I was trying to tell them is, as a Canadian dealer who talks to a lot of Canadian comic book collectors, they would love to have a facility in Canada where the books don't have to leave the country, where they could be graded right here in country. Who knows? We'll see. Carlos says, PSA have two choices, one basic and one deluxe for an upcharge. The reason that they think AF-15 is a better slab than a modern book, perhaps. Again, guys, it's all still in its infancy. I don't know exactly when they're going to start grading comics. I don't think until 2025. So who knows? But I'm sure lots of news is going to come out over the next few months. I'll try to bring someone from PSA on the show. We can ask some questions together. Also, all PSA slabs going to have UV protection. That is something that people have been asking for years. 4 years. I am still shocked that CGC, when they made their new slabs, didn't bother to go down that road. Or CBCS for that matter, right? Every little thing you do like that, signature authentication. I was surprised CGC didn't have signature authentication for such a long time. CBCS had it, and that seemed to be one of the main reasons people liked CBCS. Well, then offer it yourself. You offer it yourself, you're cutting them off at the knee, right? So now they do have that. So why, again, and everything costs money, I get it, but at least have the option. To me, UV protection should have been in there from day one, right? Again, my comics are either at the bank in a safety deposit box or here in my room in a box, right? They're not, I don't have my comics on display. So UV protection for me isn't important, but I happen to know a lot of collectors who love to show off their books and have their books on their walls and whatever. So having UV protection is, to me, essential. John Sherwood says, and I have to agree with him on this one, I like hitting the like button. Please hit that like button. I only have 16 likes, almost 45 of you in here right now. The like button, believe it or not, guys, doesn't cost you anything, but it does help the channel a lot. If the more likes I get, it puts my show out to more people, so more people get involved and jump in and join us. So thanks for reminding us about that, John. Warren says, it's a numbers game. Unfortunately, we in Canada are a drop in the bucket for collectors getting cards, coins, comics slabbed compared to the States. And yes, you are 100% right. You know, I'm often always told this. California's market and population is bigger than that of Canada. So why in the hell are they going to focus on Canada? You know, yes, Canadians have to send their books over the border. Yes, Canadians have to deal with Canada customs. Yes, Canada has to deal with exorbitant shipping fees. That is the name of the game. That's the price you got to pay to play. And honestly, I think we're going to continue playing the game that way. I doubt very highly that PSA is going to set up a Canadian operation. I just don't think it's going to happen. I could see CGC opening up a Western branch and an Eastern American branch and a Western American branch. I could see them doing that, or North and South, that sort of thing. That would probably make more sense for CGC than for them to open a whole new branch here in Canada, believe it or not. But again, time will tell. You're right, Warren. Carlo, PSA has on-site grading and encapsulation for cards at their Canadian card show. How awesome would that be for comics? Cards and comics are two very different things, and then you got to remember most people want their comics pressed. And I know a couple of pressers. I can tell you right now, I have guys sometimes asking me, can I come in and can you press your books while I wait? The answer is no, because generally speaking, it takes more than a day to do it. Like, I mean, you'd be there for 8-9 hours waiting for your book. So no. But yeah, I think PSA can offer that, but how many cards can you do in a day? How many comics could you do in a day? Comics and cards is two different animals, right? You never know. They could start offering that. Dan, it says CGC could at least meet us halfway and put a site in New York. Yeah, I mean, if they put something in Buffalo or upstate New York, the shipping would be a hell of a lot cheaper, but not for somebody in BC, right? So I mean, it is what it is. To be honest, shipping to Florida isn't crazy money. We're actually in Ontario. I'm positioned in a very good spot. The shipping is not crazy. FedEx has a direct route back and forth all the time. And then when I ship books to you guys across Canada, I use UPS, and thankfully I've got great rates right now. So hopefully that will continue. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. PSA, I think, is a great addition to the market. It's going to be very exciting to see what they do. I'm very excited to see the final slabs they have to offer. I'm excited to find out about how much they're going to charge for this service and the different tiers they're going to have. I'll tell you one thing I think is stupid with CGC is the modern and vintage tiers. I think it's dumb. I think it's ridiculous. I think the books all books under $400 or under $500, whatever the number is, should be the same price. You know, why is a Fantastic Four number, I don't know, 57? You know, if it's worth under $400, why is that book I'm being charged more because it's older? I think that's stupid. I think it should be based solely on value, not on the year the book was made. That's it. If you get a book from 1938 or 1942 that's worth very little, they should be charged the exact same as a modern book of the same value. It's when the value starts going up that it makes sense that you pay more, but not if the book is older. It makes no sense to me. That's something I hope PSA takes into consideration. Okay, I got a holder box here. Do we have any new people here today? I've got about 40 people in the watching right now. Any newbies? If you are new and you're watching for the first time or have never spoken on my chat before, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to find that out. All right. So that's done. Let me go into box number 2. I am not sure what's in here, but we are about to find out. All right. Oh boy. Starting off with a banger, and I got a feeling... I have a feeling. Is this the one? I think this is the Kraken press. This is a CPR. I think it's a CPR. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. And the next book I'm going to show you is actually for sale. So if you guys are in the market for an ASM 300, look no further. One sec. Okay, so let me go back to my, where is it? Overhead cam. So this one here. Beautiful book, ASM 238, direct edition in a 9.8. I got a feeling it's a CPR. I'm not 100%, but I got a feeling. Now, this book here belongs to Flip Comics, Flip Collectibles out in Toronto. This book is for sale. It's a 9.6 copy. It's a really nice 9.6 copy. of ASM 300, First Appearance of Venom. If you're in the market for this book, look up Flip, F-L-I-P, on Instagram, and it's Rob's book right there. It is for sale. I'm sure Rob is also open to trades. So if you're in the market for an ASM 300, this one is available. Okay, we also have a Batman Adventures. What the heck is in there? A Batman Adventures 12 in a 9.4 right there. We have a 9.6 copy, okay, of Smurfs #1, 9.6. And that is a Canadian? It's a Canadian price variant, actually. It is. And you know what? I'm kind of happy it came back in. I was kind of saying 9.4. It came back in 9.6. Now these belong to a new client of ours at the shop. And okay, we've got The Untold Legend of Batman #1. We've got a 9.6. And another 9.6. But there was a third copy. And I'm happy to report at 9.8. And this is John Byrne's first DC work. This is John Byrne's first work over at DC. 9.8. So 2 9.6s and a 9.8. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Gotta move those invoices over there. Okay. Let me pack these babies up. I'll go back to the chat window in the meantime. Peter G says, I always found U.S. businesses would generally not pay attention to the Canadian businesses until they ran their sales and discovered that we were 20% or more of their sales, then a light would come on. I've said this a lot, and I said, I've always felt, I think some people, kind of like what Bad Hombre on here, he doesn't want to send books of his private collection because he's afraid of them being damaged in the slab or during the encapsulation process. I often thought that there are some collectors out there that just don't want to send their books for grading, not because they're opposed to grading or even because they're afraid of what Bad Hombre is afraid of, but because they just don't want to send their books that far. I remember the very first time I sent my books to CGC, I was on pins and needles until they were back in my hands. It was terrifying. So I think some collectors are just too freaked out about the whole process. And the idea of sending their books down south, like so far away, it freaks them out. And regardless of how reputable the company is or whatever, they're still apprehensive about that. So I think if this company if one of these companies, even CBCS, like if CBCS were to say, you know what, we're going to invest in Canada, we're going to open an actual spot where we're going to grade books, I think they would get the Canadian market. Most of it, I think they would. Spartacus is here. How you doing, Spartacus? Good to see you. What do you think of buying a signed copy, but it's marked example to Tom by Claremont? Oh, I see. Does this have any resale value to get graded and sold? So you mean like say an artist actually puts like to Kevin from Todd McFarlane. When it comes to autographs, like 8x10 autographs or sports memorabilia or posters or what have you, it does kind of hurt the value a bit for those collectibles. Now, as far as comic books go, that I don't know. I don't think personally I would give a care if I'm not in a signature to begin with personally, but if I were, say I had a say I had a nice Stan Lee signature, it's a to John from Stan Lee, but my name's Kevin. Well, it's still a Stan Lee signature. I don't know. I guess it's up to the person buying it. Brian, who's on here right now, or was on here, Brian Pulaski, he told me a story about a Batman 1966 poster from the movie, the Batman movie. I don't know if Brian is still on here or not, but he had all the signatures on this poster. He had All of them. I want to go through all the different actors. I think Meredith Burgess Meredith, and who's the guy who played Robin? I forget. Burt Ward, the ladies who played Catwoman, Cesar Romero, and then all he needed was Adam West, and everybody signed just their names. So it was in Niagara Falls. I remember he told me he met with Adam West, and he brought the poster, and he said, "Could you please sign my poster?" And Adam West is like, "What's your name?" And Brian's like, "Well, no, just please just sign your name." He goes, "No, I don't sign unless I only personalize." So he had it personalized. So that kind of sucked because he wanted to have just their names on it, not to so and so. Because when you do that, when you personalize it, it might make it less attractive to a future buyer. So yeah. To answer your question, I don't know. I don't know how that would be. I can tell you though that somebody who's looking for, say, a Stan Lee signature, and there's one that just has Stan Lee on it, and one that says "To Billy" from Stan Lee, they're going to go for the Stan Lee alone, right? I think it comes down to which one will be easier to sell. That's probably more or less what you're looking at. All right. We got another ASM 300. We have a 9.2. And then we even have another one. And this one's a 9.8. Lots of ASM 300s today. All right. We have a 9.8 copy of Sin Eater number 3, Cohen variant cover. Very cool. We have a copy of ASM 601 and a 9.6. Famous J. Scott Campbell, another one. Also in a 9.6. J. Scott Campbell with the custom label on it. And to go along with those two, we have a Marvel Superhero Secret War, number 8 and a 9.8, again with the cool custom label. Gotta love it. Aaron says, "I have a Frank Miller, to me personal, on Elektra Lives Again, but I've never thought about selling it." That's it, right? I mean, it is what it is. We have a Darth Vader number 3 and a 9.6. We have X-Men number 129 newsstand in a 7.0. First Kitty Pryde, another one. And now my stack is too high. I'm going to have to go back to packing these up. Guys, I'll be back in the shop this Saturday from 11 until 2. The Comic Loft will also be open at that time. So if you thought about coming down to Oshawa to see me, you can come on down. I do free pre-screening, obviously. If you've got a bunch of books, you're not sure if it's worth even doing the books, having them worked on. Myself and Charlo, we can let you know whether or not it's a worthy investment or not. Happy to help in that regard. Again, Saturday from 11 till 2 at 90 Russet Avenue in Oshawa, unit number 5. I'm also going to be at Fan Expo this year. I'm going to be trying to do signature series. I will need books for Fan Expo the week prior, at least, by the 25th of August. I think that's a good date. I don't think, when is Fan Expo? When is Fan Expo? Let's see here. I'll tell you when Fan Expo is. Oh, okay, no, I was wrong. Not August 25th. August 20th. August 20th. I will need them, right? And I'm happy to help you get those signatures you may want. Spartacus, is any word on the Fan Fest in TO? I can find no price listings for artists to sign comics. Really? they have the prices for the actors, right? I'd have to check about that. And are you still wanting to come to London, Ontario Comic Con on September 14th and 15th? I don't believe I'll be able to come to London, unfortunately. I'm going to be set up for a signature series for that. So I can do, I think Eastman's going to be there, right, for Turtles. So I can send books there for that. But I'm sending my witness ahead to do all that. I'm not going to be setting up at the show. I may be in Hamilton Comic Con. I'm thinking about doing that one as well. Yeah. Again, getting the witnesses set up is proving to be more problematic than everything else. I need guys to be there each day, and as you know, with Fan Expo, the celebrities are in the North Building and the artists are in the South Building. Well, that South Building's no problem, but having somebody walk all the way over back and forth, I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm going to have those books in hand prior to the show. So if you want, what's her name, Ahsoka Tano there, you know who I'm talking. If you want her to sign your Star Wars books, no problem. I can have that done, but I need the books in hand prior. She's only there on the Saturday. I'm not going to be going there and waiting in line for 2 hours. I'll go there once, so I'll send my witness there once. Get this, if it's one signature or 10 signatures, get them all done and go on to the next person. That's the way it's going to have to be. Yeah, so Shane says, okay, it would have been cool to meet you since I can't come to your city. Shane, yeah, sorry about that. It's too many shows. I mean, the Toronto Comic Book Show in September as well. Coming out of Fan Expo. I think Hamilton is in September as well. I'm even thinking of going to, believe it or not, New York Comic Con this year. Not to set up, but to do a panel. I'm still waiting to hear back. So you never know, Shane. Things could change, but I don't think so. It'd be nice to meet you too, sir. All right, let's keep going here. Got a few more to go. We got a Captain Marvel, number 78, right edge back cover trimmed. This one here from 1947. We have a Wiz Comics. These are Deepak books, I think. We've got a Wiz Comics number 58 from 1944. That's the one we saw on the thumbnail of today's video. Oh, some lucky guy has a New Mutants 98 in a 9.8 to celebrate Deadpool and Wolverine. We have a 9.4 copy of ASM number 1. And why is that only a 9.4? Because this looks really nice to me. Really nice. And then we have What If 105, first appearance of Spider-Girl. We have a Batgirl 23 variant cover. Got a 9.2 copy of Teen Titans number 12. First full appearance of Batman Who Laughs. Haven't seen that in a while. We have a Spider-Gwen number 1. Ghost of Spider-Gwen in an 8.0. Why did they kill this book? What's going on? 8.0 is a really low grade. Why is this a 8.0? Lee variant cover. I can't understand why this is an 8. I'm going to have to look this up. That seems a little low for that book. And then last but not least, we have a 9.0 of X-Men 101. It says Color Touch on cover, 9.0. God, this is one of the books I see come back with Color Touch a lot. And I hope that's not a Shocks book, because he had one too that was supposed to get worked on by CCS. No, I don't have the slip right here, but they better not come back color touched again, or I will not be happy. All right, guys, there you go. Shane Grove says, I'm going to get Kevin to sign a fake reprint of 84 TMNT #1, then get it graded. You could. Why not, right? Sometimes they won't grade those, though, right? Be careful. There was one fake reprint that they will. It's a counterfeit copy that they will, but a lot of times counterfeit books, CGC will not grade them. All right, guys, there you go. Listen, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I'll be back probably tomorrow with 3 more boxes. And who knows? There might be more boxes on the way too. So you may get a 3rd show this week. Or maybe I'll hold off till next Tuesday. I don't know. We will see. But thanks so much for popping by. I sure hope you enjoyed that show. Oh, yeah, that's right. Bad Hombre. The Cerebus #1 counterfeit, they will grade. That's right. That's the one they will grade. But a lot of other counterfeit books, they won't. Again, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button, all that fancy stuff too. Hit the notification bell so you know when I do go live. Generally speaking, I'm on here every Tuesday night at 8:30. Because of the recent vacation and me trying to catch up, I'm coming on a little more frequently. All right, guys, until tomorrow, take care. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you again very, very soon right here on the Comic Doctor YouTube channel. Take care. Bye for now.